maybe after.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, after Innocent or before Innocent. So until now, I don't see him.
I'm there.
Innocent is
Oh,
here.
yes. Yes.
So can I start or?
Let's wait few more minutes. I think we have 29 participants so far. We can wait a little bit and we will start soon.
We'll come in and see if you will.
Maybe I will start also sharing this screen.
Like this. I would like you welcome people to the team. Yeah. So Andrew will get Ben to do the initial welcoming and introduce you as the moderator. Or there's a lot of protocols we'll go through at the start, and then. Okay. No, he's online.
Okay.
You come in and just want to be the technical person. I'll okay, so.
Okay, good morning, everyone from Accra. Good afternoon to the rest who are in the afternoon. You are welcome to the FARA AFAS led workshop on the Taat program, looking at the development of the farmer registration template for the continent. We are happy that you were able to make time to join us. And this this webinar is organized in collaboration with the Taat program, the Taat Clearinghouse, and then is funded by the African Development Bank. As we are all aware, or that you may be aware, FARA is the apex organization for the African Union, responsible for coordinating and advocating for agricultural research for development in the continent. FARA is one of the compacts, the enabler compacts of the Taat program, and we are tasked, we are responsible for the capacity development and outreach of the Taat program. So this activity of developing a more harmonized, acceptable continental template for farmer profiling actually sits well within the mandate of FARA and our partners, AFAS, and then the SROs, Asareka, Kadesa, Koraf, and Nazru. And so we are happy to have you join, and we look forward to having a very fruitful discussion with you in order to build or to come up with a template that really speaks to the key issues that can help when developed into a database, can provide the services that are needed for the last mile, and to provide the opportunity for increased production and productivity. So specifically, that is the key objective of the webinar, is to discuss the draft document that has already been prepared, roughly, to seek your views. And this is a template that is expected to be a gender sensitive template. And so the aspect of gender is very key. And literature has already proven that a lot of the things that have been done on farmer profiling in the past have paid very little attention to how it addresses issues of gender. And so we are privileged to have you. And at FARA here, we have other participants with us who are, or had other experts who are sitting with us, who are not joined, they haven't joined individually, but they are with us. And so we have, as part of the Taat team in FARA, we have Christian Benik, who is our Taat coordinator. We also have Karen Monoko, who is our agribusiness and gender expert. We also have our partners from the Farmer Federation Network, led by Mr. King David. He is also the powerful rep in Ghana, and so we are privileged to have him. We have our brother also Kwabena, who has worked with WAP on farmer profiling and M&E. And then we have a learning and monitoring evaluation consultant who worked with CTA, Imelda from Benin. She's also with us. We also have the FARA IT expert and a junior consultant on knowledge management with the team. So we are privileged to have you, and we hope that this workshop will actually realize its desired objective. So at this point, I would like to ask Dr. Slim, the ED of AFAS, to give us his a brief welcome note as a close partner. As I mentioned earlier, this workshop has been, or this webinar has been organized, planned and organized together with our team at AFAS led by Andre Russell. So Dr. Slim, we are privileged to have you, and we welcome you to speak.
I don't know whether they can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
It's Max, but it's not Max. I'm just using what he registered with. And
we can hear you, sir.
Hello? I can't access the video though, but it's okay. I can verbalize. So let me.
Hello, Dr. Slim. We can't hear you. Hello, Dr. Slim. Hello. Hello, Andre. Maybe we can let Dr. Innocent.
We might
So,
need to move to the next.
yes. So whilst Dr. Slim sorts out his connectivity problem, we would invite Dr. Innocent, the director at the Clearinghouse of Taat, to give us his keynote address.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Good morning.
Good day to everyone, and greetings from Taat Clearinghouse, Technology for African Agriculture Transformation. Okay.
Hello,
now I can
back.
access.
I'm back. I don't know if you can hear me now. Unfortunately, our internet blocked out.
You might have to raise the hand.
The what?
You might have to raise your hand so that they can.
I think they have, I don't know.
Over
Okay.
to you. Over to you. Over to you.
So, Dr. Slim, you can go ahead.
Okay, sorry. We had a small blackout the whole entire AFAS, so my apologies. So, first and foremost, let me thank the TAC team, which is in Para, and jointly together with Andre in AFAS, who have organized this seminar, and the whole team who are attending it, the African Development Bank, who has funded the project, and the TAT overall compact. So basically, on the topic, what we know is, like has been mentioned even in the template itself, there's been profiling of farmers for a while now, either in a small scale or in a larger scale, and so on and so forth. But all this has probably lacked certain information, which is not comprehensively captured. And our hope is that using this template, and once we have got the template and acceptable, it will capture all the information that is required and can be adapted to the best benefit of the farmers in the continent and in the project areas. And my hope is that also, and especially with APAS in several countries now, and working with TAT also in some other countries, this template can be adapted and rolled out so that the various service providers and the various stakeholders can use it more specifically in a targeted way for targeted use and for the best benefit of the farmers. So I would wish just to say thank you very much for having at least worked on the profile, and let's just have the discussions and see how best to make it better, where everybody has contributes, and we see how we can test it in a few countries if possible, and eventually roll it out. So thank you very much.
Dr. Slim. So we will now invite Dr. Innocent from the Taat Clearinghouse to deliver his keynote address. Hello, Dr. Innocent.
Yes, good day to everyone, and greetings from Taat Clearinghouse, Technology for African Agriculture Transformation. Thanks to, first of all, to Dr. Slim for your welcome remarks, and also your leadership under AFAS together with Farah, that you're able to come up with this tool that will help, especially as we look at to the registration or profiling of farmers as we eye for increased productivity to the continent. Maybe a quick background I might put on table from Taat Clearinghouse. For the audience to have just a quick background of this Taat program, Technology for African Agriculture Transformation, that is sponsored by African Development Bank, and especially through its Feed Africa strategy, that is 1625. And specifically, Taat seeks to increase agricultural productivity across the continent with proven agricultural technology to farmers. So by doing so, for the last 2.5 years, the Taat program, which is executed by or implemented by the IITA, International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, in partnership with CG centers, specialized institutions, the CG centers that are more engaged with, they are more with ICALT, IITA, CABI, Africa Rice, and other specialized institutions like FDC, ITF, and now with specifically with FARA and CROs that are more focusing on capacity component of the program. So with that, for the last 2.5 years, as I said, the main part of the Taat Clearinghouse or the Taat program objective is to increase productivity on the continent through this partnership ecosystem that is in place. That has proven already for the last 2 years that it's working. And just to give some examples or reference for the last 2 years, for example, through this ecosystem or partnership from national research institutes, government, private sector, all the NGOs, farmers organization, were able, for example, if I give an example for some commodities, wheat, for example, the increase of productivity has gone up to 100% compared to the beginning, whereby especially promoting high yielding heat and the drought tolerant varieties and And this was recorded especially in Sudan and Ethiopia. That is just one example that I'm providing as impact or contribution of Taat program when it comes to increase productivity, for example, for rice, by using quality varieties combined with good agricultural practices from some of the countries that we intervene, we reach to 20%. So just a quick, these are just examples that by using this approach of proven technology reaching to the farmers, we are able to reach this impact of productivity. But what we realized, and now I will be coming from especially from this profiling, that is more well structured, that help, especially when I went through the document. It helped mostly to help profiling farmers, especially providing key information that are needed is when it comes to increase this productivity. If I pick some just financial instruments, insurance information, the farm details, what comes to the farm size and the crop and other agroecological information, the production information when it comes to planting information, the spacing, all these, especially the soil, all this information coupled with the business information, it comes to the farmers organization through cooperative markets, even the transport. All these information are very vital as we're moving forward, especially with the Taat program. If you want to go faster and make this technology or this impact already recorded for the last 2 years to take to the scale, to reach more countries, this tool itself will be very important as working with countries that where we are scaling these proven technologies, whereby if you want to increase productivity, this profiling will help. For example, trying to integrate existing, and I think that, and I assume not, I think that's how things will work. This tool will be customized to countries based on the specificity. And for example, if you look at the countries whereby they use some subsidy schemes, or this will be very well aligned, helping to integrate the input, for example, the fertilizer, the seed to this ecosystem to help fast track quickly and accessing to this input for farmers. That will help to increase that productivity because of this data set are in place for farmers to access to this input. The fact that I saw one of the elements you are looking to is linking to the agroecologic conditions, or with this data set linked to that, it is easily coupled with all this input that will help to increase the productivity and the resilience as moving forward. And if you want to take this to the scale. Another advantage I see as with this ecosystem of, if you want to really to scale technology and reach more farmers on the continent using this IT tool, is they reduce the transaction costs. So with this automated system, with this reduce all these middle man, or to make this more efficient and reduce all these transaction costs that are already happening, and also all this paperwork that are carrying across the continent when it comes to this accessibility and availability of inputs, especially when it comes to the agro dealers system of this input. The other thing, as I saw, it definitely will help this linking with the financial literacy. That will be easily, when you link it to the financial system, farmers being accessing to this loan and credit as you accept all these inputs or market linkages. So I don't want to go in more in details. I know this will be discussed throughout, and then trying to see how exactly this can be integrated and customized to country context, and learn from different countries what worked better and how can we customize as we improve this farmers profiling. That will help definitely to increase productivity on the continent and leave all this narrative that have been there, that African country is a home of 60% of world arable land, but still remain the importer of food. That we need to really one lifetime to get out from this narrative and make sure that we increase this productivity by facilitating farmers accessing to quality seed, especially, and breeds for livestock, and that will help to increase to fill this gap that you have. So with that, profiling will definitely help moving forward. So on that note, I would like to once again to thank Farah, who is our enabler compact, working tirelessly to make this all information to the community, to the all stakeholders on the continent. We really appreciate this partnership that you are having, and your role, especially availing all this information to the all stakeholders, together with AFAS, which is a main player in the extension services that will help to reach more farmers on the continent. So with that note, I would like to once again to thank you and wish you a very productive webinar discussion that will lead with a concrete discussion that will help really to help countries taking the technology to scale with this profiling system that will help to go faster as you increase productivity on the continent. Once again, thank you very much, and appreciate the collaboration between Taat program through ITA that is implementing this program, and we appreciate the partnership and the support from the bank, the African Development Bank, and also Bill and Melinda Gates that is supporting the Taat operation, especially through clearing house, as we support country designing, developing programs that are including this proven technology. So this is really a timely discussion that will help to go faster as we increase productivity on the continent in a sustainable manner. Once again, thank you, and wish you a very good discussion.
Thank you very much, Dr. Innocent. We greatly appreciate your presence in this webinar. So at this point, we would move straight to the webinar, the technical discussions. And at this, I would want to hand over to Andre Russell, who is the ICKM specialist at AFAS, to moderate the technical session of the webinar. Thank you very much. So over to you, Andre.
Yes, thank you very much, Ben, and thank you, Dr. Innocent, for that very empowering introduction. Unfortunately, because of internet connection, I might not put my video on, but I hope that at some point I will be able to show my face. So my name is, let me start sharing my screen for now. So my name is Andri Rasuanin. I'm from Madagascar. I'm the ICT and KM specialist at AFAS, and I will be moderating this training and this workshop today. I'm very happy also that our ED has stressed some important points about extension linkage between extension and farmers. And so has Dr. Innocent. And this is something that we need to work a lot on in the next years. So just some housekeeping in case you haven't been informed about the interpretation yet. We have simultaneous interpretation from French to English and English to French during this workshop. So you can ask your question or you can talk in French as well as in English, and someone will translate. As you can see, there is a small globe on the bottom right side of your screen, and you can pick the language that you want from there. During this workshop,
Maybe then I can come in. Okay, so it sounds as if Andre might have lost his connection. So we're trying to do the backup plan here is that we share the screen from our side, and hopefully he can come back in with his voice, his audio rather. And I'll try to go through his slides that he's shared with us ahead. Basically, we'll be, during this session, we'll try to use different tools. Obviously, we're all on the Zoom session, and Zoom actually has a few additional functionalities. For example, we'll try a few Zoom polls. So when we see that you're falling asleep in front of your computer, we will actually launch the polls to reinvigorate the participation. We are also trying to see whether we can visualize a lot of things we'll be talking about. It's nice to see the presentation, but we will try to use some of the tools to visualize it as well in terms of understanding the nature and the complexity, but also the relationship between the different categories that we're trying to use to include in this farmer profile. And in the end, okay, so we'll also be using another tool, Mural, which allows us to then add in contents in terms of the adding comments. So obviously we cannot do it in a webinar format on Zoom, but we'll try to use this other tool. Let's hope that connection on your side is good enough that we can also do that. But by all means, at any point, if there are any suggestions, you can please also insert it in the chat box. And just to continue with the presentation until Andre comes in, we have lined up a whole set of people to join us in a panel discussion at different points in the session. Obviously, you just heard from Dr. Innocent Musabi Miana from the Clearinghouse. We'll have a few other speakers. We'll have a presentation from Mr. Stefan Boyera, who's actually prepared the background paper and the presentation. We'll hear from Dr. Benjamin Adam, who's the ICT for Development Specialist at CTA. We'll also have other speakers from the Professor Dele, I can't see the, Tolok Bonse talking on behalf of the extensionist. Obviously, Andre is the one who will be handling the facilitation of the sessions. Dr. Mercy as well, also from the extension network, but also specifically here addressing the gender perspective. And we also have Mr. King David Amoa, who's in the room with us, talking on behalf of the farmers organization. So we have a real mixture of all the stakeholders who are all interested in profiling the farmers that we're talking about, and we'll go into these details. Maybe just to share with you that our intention is to have the session. We're actually going to be with you for about 3 hours, but we are going to split it into 3 levels. At each point, we're going to spend the first hour going through the general overview of the concepts so that we understand where we are. And then we'll come back. It's a learning process we're going to go through with you, whereby we'll come back and look at what have we learned from the conversations, from the discussions in the first hour, and then we'll build up on it in the second hour. And hopefully, if you are able to stay with us for the third hour, we'll actually go more into details. But the rest, the workshop here continues for another day or so. And we in the room here will be continuing the discussions, but we would very much like for you to be able to join us in the process, and we will see to what extent we can also share what we're discussing. Just to go back to the slide we had before, it's a process where we are, as I said, we are learning as we go through. And as you'll see with the presentations, usually the presentation is about, where are we now, what do we know, and then we go on to hear the presentations. For example, Stefan Boyera will talk about what have we learned from the experience so far, and then we'll be hearing some comments from the panelists before we go on to what have we learned through the session. Therefore, what does it mean? What are the implications? Are we able to converge towards some agreed approaches, agreed decisions, agreed formats, and all these kinds of issues that I'm sure will come up as we go through the presentations. And obviously, therefore, based on this agreed way forward, what are the actions we should be taking, and what are the actions all of us as different stakeholders should be taking? And as we go through it, we'll now iterate and go into the next round of discussions. So it's a very interesting and intriguing approach that Andre has prepared for us. Unfortunately, okay, I see he's probably back on, but maybe he can come in anytime to let me know when he's ready to take over. But if he's not there, I think I will.
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, so you can tell me whether I've done a good job so far,
Yeah,
and then you can take
I'm
over.
here. Yes, I'm here, Krishan, and thank you very much for taking over. I'm sure you will have to take over again after, because of this internet issue. Yeah, so I think Krishan has explained it so well. Before we start with the first presentation from our expert who designed this document, we would like to know what is the situation. How are you? Have you already done some farmers profiling exercise before? And have you collected information from farmers? How you did it? So we have three questions here, just to put us in the mood and to have an overview of the public that is participating in this webinar. I saw some comments while you fill this poll. I saw a comment, a very relevant comment from Stacia. So many men for a gender sensitive farmer profiling exercise. I think this is really true, and we need the women in this webinar to raise their voice. Dr. Mercy also should encourage more women to participate in future in such exercise. So we have 25 participants in this poll so far. Let's just take 30 more seconds. Yeah, and youth as well. We haven't got, yeah, no, we still have some youth there. Of course, many of the people have already looks in this panel. So yes, about the first question, have we already done some farmer profiling before? It seems that many of us, 65% replies yes. So this is a good thing. We are not going to waste time. We also see that many of us, 76%, have already collected information about farmers, and the regularity and the structured approach, yeah, it's balanced. So let me just end and share this quickly so that our panelists here can see the results. So we got 42 votes during the past 2.5 minutes. I'm ending the poll. So I'm failing to end the poll. Can Krishan stop sharing his screen?
I'm just wondering whether Andre is gone again.
Yes, I'm back. Just got this. Okay, do you see the result now? So this is the result of our poll. I believe you can hear me now. So the trend is that many of us have already collected information about farmers, and also and also that we are doing it in a relatively structured way. But regular it should be maybe, and not regularly. So this is the type of audience that we have today. So this now, and I think we are going to hand over to
Okay, we also had some trouble hearing Andre, but I seem to kind of understand that he was handing over to Stefan Boera to give to make his presentation. And I hope that the internet connection for most of you are still good enough that you can hear us and that you'll be able to follow the presentation. So yeah, with Andre's permission, maybe I will just now invite Stefan Boera to come in. He has been working on several projects before, and I'm sure he will be able to, well, he will explain that to you in his presentation. But this is now the first round of sharing of where we are today. According to Stefan, this is this is the status of these farmer profiling exercises, and we'll come back to you with the discussion after this. Thank you. Over to you, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Krishan. So good morning or good afternoon to everybody. So I'm Stefan Boyera, and I will present the work on generic template for farmer profiling. Quickly, an overview of this presentation. We have sliced in three parts, as it was presented by Andre and Christian at the beginning. During these first hours, we will start with the general principle, and we have a first discussion, and we'll give back the floor to Andre, and then later I will get into more details and even more details at the last part. Let me start with a few words about myself. So I'm the CEO of a French consulting and software company called SBC4D. That's I founded about 12 years ago. We are specialized. We have two departments. In fact, one in ICT for development, where we mainly focus on ICT for agriculture, about 80% of our portfolio. And in terms of geography, about 70% of our portfolio is in Sub-Saharan Africa. We have also a second department that is focusing on data for development, the use of data and open data. So that's and we work mainly for governments, UN agency, international organization, private foundations, and also NGOs. So let's get into the details. So we talk a lot about farmer profiling. I thought that it could be interesting to present in details the concept. So first of all, this diagram shows what is the basic. So the idea behind farmer profiling. So the principle is that data are collected in the field at the farm level, either directly by enumerators or remotely using some ICT technologies. And all this information is then centralized and potentially used by all the actors of the agriculture sector. So that starts from the public actors like the Ministry of Agriculture, that's knowing who is producing where, help them define the right policy, but also all the other providers. Farmers Union could do a better advocacy activities based on real data. Extension agent could be more efficient, and all actors from input dealers to traders are able to design and deliver better services to smallholder farmers. So why So I'll talk about the what is farmer profiling and why those information is useful. Mainly, that's the details of a farm and a farmer is the only way to adapt what I call global content and adapt this global content. Would that be weather forecast? Would that be commodity price, etc. Adapt this global knowledge to the specificities of a given farmer. So it's all about providing customized personal information, relevant information to and accessible to farmers. Would that be actionable information service? Would that be financial services or any other kind of service they need in their activity? So just to give you an example to be even clearer, suppose you have weather forecast. So it's good to know what is the forecast globally at the national, regional, or even district or county level. But sometimes what a farmer needs, he needs to know, when he should plant or when it's good time to harvest. And transforming weather forecast into the specific information that a given farmer needs for his activities needs adaptation based on what is he producing, where he is, what is what is the stage of his crop cycle if it's a crop. And that's all about the farmer profile. So that's from the generic information you can adapt it to provide actionable information to the farmer. So that's the idea behind farmer profiling. So usually we sort the type of services that farmer profile support into four main categories of services. On the top left, it's the production services. So that's all about extension service, information about planting, selecting the right crop, the right species, and so on, getting access to most appropriate input, understanding the amount of inputs you have to put, accessing forecasts to drive activities, and so on and so forth. So all services that are related to production. The second categories of services is trade-related services. So here is all about leveraging access to market and access to better trading opportunities for farmer, and so helping them making the right choice in terms of transformation, in terms of certification, and so on and so forth. Third categories of services, and probably one of the most important is the financial service. So farmer profiles, particularly in places where it's more informal businesses, collecting data about history of production, of field, and so on is quite often the only way to make those farmers eligible for access to credits or to help them accessing specific subsidies. So again, this third category is the financial service is one of the critical services that are enabled or leveraged by farmer profile. The last category is slightly different. It's not directly a service for farmer, but more to the other actors. Would that be policymakers? Would that be cooperatives, farmer union? And here is knowing who are your members, who are your target farmers, what they produce, and so on, help you to take the right decision, help you to make the right advocacy campaign, and design appropriate policies. So here it's more on the sets of services enabled by other actors. So all in one, and you know, I'm repeating more or less what Dr. Innocent say earlier in this webinar. But the idea, the observation that we see on existing pilot initiative, and the objective of farmer profile could be summarized in these 4 main points. So mainly the idea is to support better policy based on real data, to leverage advocacy power of farmer organization by giving them, again, accurate data about their members. And it's about leveraging in a more general way services to support farmers. Would that be access to financial service or access to extension or trade services? Ultimately, the objective is dual: increasing the yields, increasing the production, increasing the food that reach the market, and at the same time improving the life of smallholder farmer and ensuring that you know, they benefit more from their activity and their production. So that's the why. So why we did. So what is a farmer profile? Why we are why it is important to conduct such a journey or process, and now it's the how. So how do you implement? How do you build such a platform? So mainly there are 4 building blocks. First, you have to decide, and that's what we call profile content. You have to decide what are the data fields that you need to collect. What are the information you need to collect? Second is, you know, how do you collect and update those information? It's good to know that you need to collect X, Y, Z, but you know, you have to see how you do this data collection and how you update the information as it changes. The third block is the technical platform. So you need ICT tools to, again, collect the information, store it, make it available to all the actors. So that's the technical platform. And the last block, and not the least, is business model. How do you conduct those tasks in a sustainable way? How do you cover the cost of collecting, storing the data, and ensure that you know, this the update is regular and the platform stay over time. And that's the fourth block. The aim of this meeting today, the one of the core objective of these activities is to focus first on the first block and on you know, building consensus about what should be captured. So and that's what we call standardization of the profile content. So why this is an important activity? Why are we here today, and why should we engage in this activity of standardizing the profile content? From our perspective, there are 3 main reasons. The first one is to leverage or to ease the aggregation of data from different platforms. As of today, and we will hear more specific example later, but as of today, there are already a number of initiatives. Some are very small, happening at a small cooperative level or small NGO level, or at the agribusiness level for agribusiness that's engaged, for example, in contract farming. Some are at a higher level, at sometimes up to national level. So we start to have these spots of activities. But what is important is to build a global view on, you know, what is the state of the agriculture sector in a given country at the continent level. And for that, we'll be able to get this global view if we are able to you know, aggregate all this information from all these initiatives to get this global. And And such an aggregation will be possible only if all these initiatives potentially using different platforms all shares more or less at least a common data model or part of a common data model, so that for key information we are able to aggregate this information. I think that's the first goal. Being sure that we could build a global view. Second objective is to support any actors. Would that be again an NGO, an agribusiness, a local government, a national government that wants to put in place a farmer profiling platform and a farmer profiling initiative. We want to support these actors in the future. It's very hard to design a profile from scratch. In our experience, we have supported perhaps 25 initiatives of this time. We have implemented about 10 of them or 12 of them, and we have advised the same amount. And what we have seen is that lots of initiatives are going through the same challenges. So they start with a first profile, and then they understand some of the issues, and they refine it. Can we save all these failure phases to all the future actors? I think that's important, and that's also part of the sustainability approach. So I think that's the second reason is really supporting the actors that will engage in this journey now. The last point I wanted to make is that we also want to do this process because we are convinced that there is a common ground. Of course, there are dozens of crops. There are there are hundreds type of farms. Some are producing livestock and so on and so forth. But is there, and we are convinced that there is a common ground. Things like identity, farm description, and so on and so forth. There is a baseline that is common to all value chain, that is common to all countries, and that could serve as a ground to compare, measure, evaluate the state of the agriculture sector in each and every country and at the continent level. So all the objective of today is not to present you a work done. We have shared with you a paper. This is not a solution. That's just a ground for discussion. What is really important is that we build a consensus. We enrich this very first draft with all the contributions for a large variety of people from different countries, from who are doing different kind of activities, enrich these documents to go towards this template that could fit everybody. So that's all the exercise of today. Discussing all together, building consensus on what should be this standardized or template profile content. So I'm just finishing here with some questions. Finishing this first part of the presentation. I would be happy to hear from people whether what they think about this idea of a generic template, whether that sounds an appropriate activity. Where does the standardization should take place? So we took this idea. We picked the idea that there is a common ground across all value chain, and then perhaps at a second stage there might be some templates that are more specific to each individual value chain. But if we really want to leverage our global knowledge of the agriculture sector, we feel that there is this need for a common ground. So do you subscribe to this point of view or not? And another point we'll be happy to get your opinion on is the level of interoperability. Where should the standard take place? Is it at the data model level? Mainly, we ensure that each and every platform is able to export data so that it's usable, or should we go one level down? Having a standardized platform that will make things even easier. So that's kind of questions, general questions that could help gathering some inputs from you. I give you back the floor, Andrew, if you are back.
Looks like Andre is not back yet.
Okay.
Okay. I was trying to follow your slides that I have on my computer, at the same time trying to see how far you went in the discussion. And I was also trying to, because some of the participants were asking about having had a copy of the slides to be able to look at. So what I've been doing is trying to copy some of the key elements in your slides and also pasted them in the chat so that they have it in the text and they can look at. So as Andrew said, please by all means, try to respond to questions or to the issues in the chat. I saw, and unfortunately, I'm also getting disconnected a few times. So when I reconnect, I lose the chats that were happening from before. So please bear with us if there are anything. So, but in case we have missed out on any issues that you would like to bring back up for us to take on board in discussion, please do so. We also have our panelists who are there. So by all means, maybe I would welcome them to make any comments or to react at this level in terms of the concept of, I think what Stefan did very well is to provide the arguments. Why do we need to do farmer profiling, and what are the general characteristics? He mentioned the building blocks, which talks about the content, and I know I copied it there. I can't remember what they are, but the building blocks. What are the key elements? And he talked about the uses of that data. Do you agree with that? Do you find that there are some things missing? Somebody seemed to have mentioned what is the role of monitoring and evaluation in this process. And again, as we go through the discussion, remember we are trying to define the data that we want to collect. We're not yet discussing why or what will we do with it, but it is very important that we keep it in mind. And the reflection and the discussion we want to have is that why do you need this data, or what kind of information do you need? Then from there you derive what is the kind of data that needs to be collected so that I can derive the information that I need. And we're trying to get the convergence of all of you from different perspectives to agree on what are the data that you need. And hopefully we can use that convergence to try to define what are the minimum data that needs to be collected so that we can all be able to use that same data and extract the information we will need. But having said that, let me just go back to Stefan to see whether I've kind of summarized and brought the issues clearer. I know he's got the 3 questions that are still on your screen now. And if there are anyone who would like to intervene, you can also put your hands. I'm not sure whether the participants can put their hands up. Yeah? You're ready to go through? Yeah? I've also got my colleagues. See, it's good to have a team. As I'm talking, I'm keeping you busy. My colleague has been able to pick up some of the questions, and I will hand over to Karen to be able to sort of kind of moderate and facilitate the questions that came up in the chat for our attention and discussion. So maybe I'll hand over to Karen for a few minutes. Then we can maybe go back to Stefan for some quick comments, and then we can come back with a discussion. So over to you, Karen.
Yeah. Thank you, Christian. So Actually, I won't go through the questions one by one, but Christian has sort of captured most of the general, like looking at the perspective of and the aim of this workshop. And I would also like to highlight that I really appreciate the comments that have been coming out on the involvement of youth and gender issues. And that's why we're here. So looking at the presentation given by Stefan, and if there's any element that you feel needs to be brought out strongly in order to capture that, to ensure that this tool can help us engage women, look at the different roles and responsibilities of men and women, and engage youth, then we are really happy to get your feedback, and we appreciate that interaction. So this is just to also highlight again, based on what my colleague Christian has mentioned, we are here to develop this tool together, and we appreciate the comments. So feel free to provide any feedback or any thoughts that you feel can add value to the tool with regards to gender and youth engagement. Because most of the questions that came up was how do we need to see more women represented, we need to see youth, and not just as beneficiaries, but also in panelists such as this one. Then the other questions that have come out are questions on, can the tool help bring out data or gather data on financial access, literacy, market information, technology use and access, and also being able to define who is smallholder and what determines the small size, and who is the target audience who's going to use the data. So these are some of the questions maybe my colleague Stefan is going to address, or we're going to discuss collectively and see what's the best approach to be able to gather this information. Yeah. Thank you, Christian.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Okay, so Karen has listed a lot of things, and I also can now see that the attendees can raise their hands to intervene. So first of all, let's just quickly go back to Stefan for any quick reactions, and then maybe we'll address those who've raised their hands. We'll see whether we can allow you to then activate your microphone and make your contributions. Stefan, any initial reactions to the comments and the questions that were listed by Karen?
Sure. So first of all, thanks to everybody who react. So I wanted just to get back. I have seen lots of very interesting questions, but I wanted to get back to the building blocks. So to be clear and to scope the discussion, we are focusing more on the data today, on the content of the data we collect. I have seen question about whether it will cost to access the information or not. That's typically the key questions to answer when you talk about the business model. And I think that's another discussion. We have to select one. I have seen also quite a few questions related to data collection tool, to specific tools, and again, that's more the technical platform or the data collection and update model. So I wanted to just again focus the discussion on the content. Later on the there were also this question that's often come, and that was related to the typology of farmer. What is a smallholder farmer? I think that's a good question, but personally I address that from a different angle. So mainly the idea is that the farmer profile is raw data. So that's the data you use to exactly try to categorize the farmer in a given region, in a given cooperative, in a given country, or at the regional level. So I think that's the idea is not that you define the typology before and without knowing whether it's a right typology or not, but perhaps looked at a later stage when you have the raw data about who are farmer, what they produce, what are the size of their field in average, and so on and so forth. That's from this raw data that you could, identify and create categories and define different subsidies scheme for different type of farmer and so on. So that's how I see it, more as a result, the categorization and the typology being more a result of farmer profiling rather than an input before doing it. What else I wanted to say? Yeah, so the second part of the presentation, we will focus more on what kind of information we put and how we could think about this information. Something I wanted to react to finish, and there were discussion about gender sensitive profile. There were also a question about MNE. I think again, from my perspective, the farmer profile is a tool to answer those questions. So we have to ensure that, for example, that the profile includes the data points that will enable a policymaker to measure the gender gap in terms of access to credit, in terms of access to collaterals, to access to technology. So I think we have to see. That's how I see it, at least, is as profile as a mean to do measurement, and in the same way we have implemented quite a few projects where profiles were mainly used for MNE. So you look at the evolution of the farmer profile and the data within the profile of some beneficiaries of a project to measure the impact of a given intervention. So I think that's for me some of the points I wanted to raise.
Krishna, can I respond to that question or what?
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead, please. Contribute to the discussion. I mean, you don't have to answer each other's questions, but yeah, please go ahead.
I think I saw one. If you saw another one, you can let me know. But I just wanted to say that from one colleague who said, how does it clearinghouse work? So I just, if you allow me, I can just share with one slide, and then it will be easier for that infograph to explain. But as you allow me.
Just see, I think you should have the rights to be able to share your
Yes.
screen. Just a quick, 2 minutes to just give them. We've shared the URL to the Taat website as well, but this might be useful to talk about why we are talking about profiling, and then the scale at which profiling has to be done for us to be able to target the audience. Go ahead.
Okay, that was one question from a colleague that was saying, how does it Taat program work? So as I said, you have CG centers that we are working with, and then we have specialized institution like IFDC, ATF, and FARA, as specialized regional organization, to help us to move this technology to the farmers. So as you can see from this figure, there are a number of technologies that are developed across the continent for different commodities. And as I said, we are focusing on 9 commodities And these 9 commodities, we look at today technologies that were developed through these centers, especially when it comes to increased productivity of these commodities. We are looking today quality, high yielding varieties that can increase productivity, or when it comes to livestock is a breed. So when these technology are developed, the clearinghouse that work is working with these CG centers to screen, to see if really there's a technology that can help to transform agriculture on the continent. So we work with these CG centers, and then we, together with Compact, we go to the country on specific commodities. As I said up there, we are just focusing on the maize, rice, wheat, sorghum, cassava, high-end beans, orange sweet potato, aquaculture, livestock. And then, as you can see, each commodity is led by specialized institution. And then we have this enabling Compact. This is soil and fertility, water management, capacity development led by FARA, enable youth, FAR armyworm for maize, and then policy that is cross-cutting to make all this technology working on the continent. Will be need to have specific technology that help to enable the scaling of this technology. So after we have this technology, we work with Compact, and then at a country level, building partnership for delivery of this technology, especially with the private sector, National Research Institute, extension services, NGOs, to take this technology to scale through especially the demonstration plots, and also this tool that help farmers to access. So all this is facilitated from the clearinghouse that is helping all this scale to technology to the farmers for different countries. We have now worked for 27 countries across the continent. So the next, we need to take this technology to more farmers. The target, our vision, is to reach 40 million farmers by 2025. So more you can get on the website. Otherwise, I've shared also my email for further discussion and exchange on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Innocent. I've just described in the chat, I've got 2 people who've raised their hands, and I'm just going to hand over to them to make a very quick interventions, please. First of all, we'll have Taiwo Dorcas. If you can activate your microphone, you should be able to do that now. I don't see you activating your microphone yet. So meanwhile, let's move to the second person. The second person who raised their hands was Jerry Egesa. Jerry, can you come through on the microphone, please? Okay, Jerry, go ahead. I saw you were able to unmute your microphone. Please come through.
Yes. Thank you so much for the very wonderful presentation. And I think this is wonderful because I think farmer profiling, like the presentation has shown, is very important. And I must say that it is one of the things that have been that misses in many of the initiatives that are being undertaken on the African continent. But we also need to realize that the farmers are a very big constituency, very, very big indeed, because in many African countries, statistics show that I think we are talking about 70%, between 70%, 80%, 60% in some instances. So it is such a wide constituency. And And recognizing that, I think it's important that we start to think about how practically we are going to profile the farmers. And I'm happy that someone talked about the farmer typology, but also what I may need to add on to this is what kind of farm are we going to focus on? Is it all the farmers that we have in Africa, or the farmers that are under this Taat initiative? Also, what I need to note is that some initiatives and even governments have taken initiatives in profiling farmers. For example, the Ugandan government is, I think, doing this very massively. And so coming back to the questions that were raised by the presentation of one of the presenters, where should we do the interoperability? I think my opinion is that we need to do the interoperability both at data level, but also at the platform level, so that we try to capture some of the initiatives of profiling farmers that are already happening in the African countries, and very many other initiatives that are undertaking that. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much, Jerry. I'm trying to do several things at the same time, so I also wanted to make a comment that we have to be careful as we go into the discussion that we do not confuse the operation of platforms with the discussion we're having about a template. But obviously, it's very hard to separate the two. But I'm begging everyone to try to understand that we're trying to look at what is the data that we need to collect and what is the template we use for the data. Obviously, a lot of us have the issue of what will I do with it, and that's where we talk of the interoperability coming in. Okay, so I will just give a second chance to Five Dorcas to come in. And if they are not able to unmute their microphone, please, and come in. I will then move to, I will invite our let's say I will call our resident expert on from the farmer perspective here. He's a leader of a farmer federation who's in the room with us and has been listening to us. Maybe I will ask Mr. King David to address us in terms of what have you heard and what are the perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that I'm highly excited and happy to be part of this discussion, and also a panelist contributing to the discussions that are going on. By way of introduction, King David Amwa is my name. I am the president, a farmer and a farmer leader in Ghana. And we also belong to ROPA, which is the West Africa Farmers Organization based in Ouagadougou. And ROPA is also a member of PAFO, that is the Pan-African Farmers Organization. So with my background and coming from the farmers link, I have a lot to say concerning this profiling. I think the farmers profiling period now is very timely. We should have started this maybe some time back, but it's never too late, because we realize that as the farmers organization, anywhere you go, they ask you, how many farmers do you have? And then a whole lot of things come up. How many farmers, how many FBOs, and we are not able to. We have designed some profiling template, and that is what we have been using in actually taking the data from our farmers. But we realize that from when you meet some other organizations, like when you meet the development partners, their questions about the profiling is different from maybe the supermarkets. The supermarkets have definite, you know, they have their own interest, and then the data they are looking for might be different. Then when you have your colleagues, the national organizations, the extension officers, and even the national agricultural departments or ministries, their profiling might be different. So like I said earlier, this template for profiling farmers is actually very, very timely. And I recommend that all of us put our heads together and come up with something that is acceptable and then maybe could be adopted at the country level. And looking at the constituency where we are coming from, like someone really said, we have a lot of farmers all over the country. In Ghana, as I'm here, look at the constituents, very, very big. Which type of farmers are we looking at? For we, the National Apex Farmer Organizations, we have been able to capture some of our membership. So we have a membership form that actually looks at who the farmer is, where he's coming from, and we have the data of the FVO. No one person can form an FVO. Maybe you have to have a group of farmers coming together with a common bond, saying that yes, we are the FVO. So we look at the name, we look at the community, we look at the group membership, and then the contact person before we actually go to look at the FVO registration. Are they registered? Then the identification membership. Then we also have to come up the date of their formation, purpose, and all that, as Stephanie has already stated. Then we try to look at group of officers, and then their ages, and then where they come from, their sex and term of office, and all that. Then they have to show evidence of registration. Are they registered with the Ministry of Food and Agri? Are they registered at the district level? Are they registered as a cooperative? So you see, and there was a time when we were looking at the supermarkets came to us and they asked us, what is the quantity of the produce that they are looking for? They said, okay, we want to give them vegetables. Then they ask us, what is the number of farmers do you have? And what is the acreage of their land size? You know, and then they want to find how much quantity or the quantity that they produce. Are you able to supply the whole year round? But looking at the template that has been provided, I see that it covers a whole lot of things. And I think if we can make inputs into it, because I realize that it talks about the commodity, whether it is livestock, whether it is fisheries, whether it is tree crops. And then we also look at business activities, like the crops, what they do and all that. Then even in the crops, are you into production? Are you into processing? Are you into marketing? So looking at all these things, I think the challenge could be administering the questionnaire, as I see it. How do we capture this from the grassroots to the national level? And I would recommend that it should not only remain at maybe at the federal level or even at the national level. It should transcend down to we the national apex bodies, and then we can actually, when we compile, like I said, ROPA is also for West Africa. The other challenge I realize is that it's not compulsory for all farmers to belong to an FBO, since it is there is the freedom of association. So how do we capture every farmer that is producing something? So these are some of the challenges that I consider. Then when we do it, then the other countries under ROPA, that is all the 15 countries in West Africa, like I'm the board member or the representative of ROPA in Ghana, and also the representative of the PAFO in Ghana. So you see, from the grassroots in Ghana to the continental level, we can actually capture all these farmers, and it will be a very good idea. But like I said, the challenge is the administration of the questionnaire, because looking at what Stephanie has actually provided, it is about how many pages, Stephanie? About 3, 4, 5 pages. And administering this questionnaire to a farmer in a local area, you have to actually get someone, the enumerator must be actually, we have to build the capacity. The enumerators' capacities have to be built so that it's not the same result that is, or if Mr. A is administering the questionnaire, Mr. B, they all have the same mind, and then they just bring the inputs or get the inputs from the farmers. And by so doing, we shall get a very credible report from the ground, instead of maybe administering it anyhowly. I give it to anybody to administer. The results that he might bring might not be a good one. So it is actually very important that the inputs that we have actually, Stephanie has actually, the template should be critically looked at, and then it should be adapted at the national level. And I think Farah could do a good job by maybe forwarding it to all the African countries so that we can come up with a credible report. So for the time being, this is what I want to say now. And if there is the need, I think I will come back, and especially looking at this African free trade, the continental free trade area that we are talking about. It is timely that we are able to capture all this information so that we are able to build from where we are starting now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moore. You have really done a good job explaining or getting us to understand the challenges that the farmers themselves face when we all come and ask you all these questions all the time. And you said you start off by having a registration form for your membership, but in the end, all the partners now come in and add more questions and ask you all these things. And that is the focus of our discussion is, what is it that you should or could be collecting that enables you to answer these questions when each of these partners come and ask you these different questions or different information. At the same time, while we're discussing the template, I think some of the arguments that a lot of our colleagues have put forward before is to say that who could be better than the farm organizations themselves to manage their data collection and the data storage and the data processing. And that is a debate that has been going on for a few years. You talked about the CFT as well. That is going to be another lot of questions coming your way. I hope that has kind of also enriched the perspective to our audience. I'd like to now move to Dr. Mercy, if she can activate her microphone to come in. She's an extensionist, but she's also now on the panel as the gender expert to make a few comments. And when we finish with that, I'll hand over to Andre again. I think he's back. We may very well need to take a little break as well, but we'll give you a few more pointers on this before we have the break. So Dr. Mercy, if you could come in, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Andrea. I want to say that I'm very happy that we are having this discussion, very timely and just very important for us at this time, because there's been a lot of discussions on data, issue of data at farmer level, value chain actor level, not available. What do we do? I think, we've had lots of issues surrounding data availability. And this profiling will really help us to at least have something on which, as a government, as organizations, as private persons, we can build on. I think this is a good starting point. But excuse me, I cannot put on my video because my internet is really very bad. But if you can hear me, I think this is what we can manage with for now. One of the short questions was on, why do we have very few women or just one woman as panelists. I think you just have to excuse us for this. But when you look at the number of participants on this webinar, I think there are so many women. And I want to appreciate you all for this, because we just need your contribution to this discussion. And this is just a starting point. We are still going to have many more discussion on this template. Why profiling farmers? I want to look at it from another dimension, because governments in Africa today, they are actually looking at agriculture as a business, and this involves all value chain actors, commodity value chain actors. When you look at Taat, the list of commodities, they're actually taking it, from value chain perspective. So when we're talking of profiling, it shouldn't be limited to farmers alone. I think we should look at it from all actors, along value chain perspective. So when we have this type of profile, we can better manage our operations, we can identify efficiencies, and we have better opportunities to strengthen our supply and demand chain relationships. We also, get to understand all our value chain actors. But when we look at it from the gender lens, I wouldn't want to talk about gender now, because it has to be inclusive. We talk of inclusiveness these days. Let me give you some statistics, just few statistics. Women comprise 43% of the agricultural labor force in developing countries. Female farmers, they only receive 5% of agricultural extension services. Only 15% of the world's extension agents are women. 10% of the aid for agriculture, forestry, fishing, only 10% goes to women. And when you look at our agriculture now in the developing world, 70% of our youths are in rural areas working in agricultural sector. 65% of them constitute the workforce. So when you look at the SDG goal number 8, it recognizes disability, where we have about 800 million that are living in developing world. I think we should rather approach this profiling from an inclusive point of view for us to be able to capture agricultural development in its entirety. I think this is very important. I stand to be corrected, but I think we should look at it from this holistic approach, so that we can actually capture all the information and make sure that it is inclusive, and we are going to reach all our actors in the value chain and then in the agricultural development arena. Concerning the profiling, I strongly think we should go ahead and give these templates back to individuals and let them input that are actually specialists in these areas, and let them input into its development, so that we can at least have something that can then be tested at country levels. Just selected countries, we test it, and then before we can start thinking of its standardization. So I just want to stop here for now. I can discuss our experience as an organization later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, and thank you, Dr. Masi. I think I've heard multiple perspectives now, so it's really nice to perhaps take a step back and reflect on what we have heard so far in the last hour and a bit. I think it's 1 hour 15 minutes. If Andre is still back with us, I know he came back about 15 minutes ago, and I told him I will hand over to him. So just go according to the plan. I'm not sure whether you wanted to involve some of the panel presenters to come in at this point. So I leave it to you now to kind of put us back on track as you had planned. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Krishan, for ensuring this this continuity in this webinar. The technical aspect was not with me today, but I hope by now I've moved from a place where I thought the internet would be good to another one where I thought was not as good, but it seems it's more stable now. So hope to be connected until the end of this webinar now. So yeah, maybe I missed some of the discussions, but and the presentations, but from what I hear, there has been a lot of enthusiasm in the chat box. I saw the interactions and some requests. And the first thing is we need from now to have that template. So I just put a link to that template, and even noticed that already 20 people has accessed it. So if you look in the chat box, there is a link to the template. Uh, in fact, it's a template document. It's a document that presents the generic template. It's a working document. We are learning, we are exploring, and nothing is finalized. As Stephen has explained, we are trying to promote something that should be in future more stable and standardized. So just download it from your side if you want to continue, because the next session will be more deeper, and we will go in very details with some information category and some data for each category and so on. But before we move to that and we take a break, maybe for those who have learned something, so I'm referring now to the screen that I'm sharing here. For those who learned something during this first session, we'll be glad to see in the chat box what you learned. There's something new that you understood during this first session. And if there's something that you haven't, you still don't understand, or you can't frame for now, just put it in the Q&A box. That is the first thing. The second thing is, if you have based on the discussions and the presentations, if you have some clear perspective and decision to improve some area in your work, it might be as an individual, as an organization, or as even at a national level, you are also requested, please write your decision, write the type of improvement you are looking for, you are planning to do. And maybe the last, before we take the break, so we also encourage those who not only stop at the decision and reflection and theoretical aspect, but who are really going to take action, and who has already drafted somewhere in your, maybe in your on your computer or somewhere in your notepad. Maybe you have written some actions that you would do this or that and so on, because the idea here is not just to explore templates. It's really how we can leverage on such a new tool and make it profitable for the continent. As Dr. Innocent said, it has to be linked to some productivity in the continent. So if you are going to take some clear action, it can be a very small thing. Please write it also in the chat box so that we can share, we can exchange what we all intend to do. And in case we have some synergies also, it would be good to see that. So yeah, with that, maybe we'll take 5 minutes because we are a bit late in this process. We are going now to enter in the very deep topic of this template, where you will explore the real content. And there are 2 links that we have. I'm just projecting on my screen now. I hope you see it. The one is the network graph to visualize the information categories and the fields. For that, you'll really need to use a computer for that. It's too small if you use a smartphone. And if you want to download the template document, then you have also the second link there. So before we start the next session, let's say after 6 minutes, so that will be at 4 in East Africa, or 1 in GMT time. Please download and start exploring a little bit what is in this document. And then after, Stefan will go deep in the presentation of these things. Any comment? So we take 5-minute break now. We come back after 5 minutes. And in the meantime, you can download these documents and explore.
You can just please paste the link in the chat. Some of us are lazy to type.
Yes, sure.
We live in the age of clicking and getting instant gratification. So thank you, Andre.